So, why are we here today? Well, we are here to talk about the one and only Beyblade known as Spriggan Requiem and its impact upon Beyblade Burst as a whole. So, without further ado, let us get into the video. Of course, Spriggan Requiem was a special bay. Upon its release in God, it had some amazing features. First of all, dual spin. At the time, in Beyblade Burst God or Beyblade Burst Evolution, this was not yet achieved, where the bay could swap between a right rotation and a left rotation. And along with that, its driver Zeta had another mode change, where it could change between a defense tip for, well, defense, a stamina tip, and an attack tip. These drivers all resembled some sort of different tip. The defense one tried to create a ball of sorts, but it's more of a rectangle, but it still works pretty well for defense. The stamina tip has a good amount of stamina while still maintaining some aggression. And the attack tip resembles the Quake driver, which has a good amount of aggression, but it just seems a bit worse than Zeta's stamina mode. Of course, its presence in the anime was really interesting. It started off when Shu decided to desert his bay, Legend Spriggan, a pretty good bay altogether, but he decided to undergo the Requiem project. And he created, with his training, Spriggan Requiem, Zero, Zeta. Its combo. It's a really good stock combo altogether. And it's really good in, well, both the anime and IRL. Even though it was quite easily, or I guess I wouldn't say as easily, beaten in the anime by Strike God Valkyrie, 6 Vortex Ultimate Reboot just Ultimate Reboot. Well, going over its gimmicks. This thing, as in the screenshot I provided, or the image right here, had rubber on its layer. And if that wasn't enough, the core, the blue core in the middle of it where the God chip goes, while it isn't able to be swapped out, it is in fact metal, giving it an advantage over other Beyblades. Of course, you can't mention Spriggan Requiem in the anime without bringing up the absolute devastation it caused, especially with some of its famous breaks. This one happened a bit later into the season, where Spriggan Requiem, it became the reason why Ultimate Reboot exists. It hit the God Valkyries, or at this time, Strike God Valkyrie 6 Vortex Reboot, and it hit its driver so hard that it proceeded to snap. I don't have a screenshot of it, but you can see here the damage it caused. It split it straight down the middle. And Spriggan Requiem doesn't discriminate. If you happen to be a bay in its way, it just decided to snap you in two. As seen against Nemesis, who I'm pretty sure was a part of, the Snake Pit that group Red Eye, or Shu, was a part of at the time. It did not restrain a single bit, and, well, as you can see in the image, snapped it in two. Of course, while this is all very basic info I'm going over, it's something that if someone didn't know about Spriggan Requiem a lot, they could, see this and go wow, that's a really good bay. But aside from that, we have here Spriggan Requiem versus Longness. If you didn't know, in the original Burst series, spoilers, so skip ahead 10 seconds if you don't want to hear this. Lost Longinus snaps Spriggan, or Storm Spriggan in half, and it causes them to have to revolve. This process, however, is repeated in here, where the entire situation flips over on its head, where instead it is Spriggan who snaps Longinus in two. I think it's quite poetic that the bay Longinus broke is also the one that broke it. But there was a strange scene at the end of where Longinus broke, where Louis was looking at Nightmare Longinus in his hand, and it began to glow. We don't know if this was foreshadowing Bloody Longinus or something, but who knows. And well, that's the end of my anime screenshots. So we're gonna go into some of the recolors this bay had. Starting off with an absolute bang, we have two versions of Gold Spriggan Requiem. We have a full gold version, which I'm pretty sure was quite rare, and the well-known, or better-known, Black Spriggan Requiem. Sometimes I see Spriggan Requiem as Dronzer Flame and Black Dronzer with how this sort of thing could go. But Black Spriggan Requiem, unlike Black Dronzer, had no presence in the anime. And it is exactly the same. Basically, when you bought your Spriggan Requiem, you had a chance to pull out a Black Spriggan Requiem that was way rarer than the other one. And of course, moving on to our next one, we have some of the sickest recolors. We have Silver Spriggan Requiem. Silver Spriggan Requiem, which I'm pretty sure was like another Coco Presby, and Flame Axe version Spriggan Requiem, the one on the right. Take a shot every single time I say Spriggan Requiem, Mim. I promise you. You won't regret it. So, aside from that, this bay, well, they all maintain the same combo, I can say that as much. But that's about it for the more interesting recolors, so why don't we take the time to move on to some of the more interesting things, or at least one last interesting thing. And that is what every bay goes through the beta designs. Basically, before the bay is finalized, it goes through a few changes of what it might look like before its final design is actually decided upon. And as we can see, Spriggan Requiem is no different. With the first three on the top, we could guess that these designs might have been rejected, especially the top left one, for having a bit too much gray for an evolution. We could assume that this bay could have just been used as like an upgraded, sorry, lost my train of thought there. An upgraded Legend Spriggan. Sorry, never on the base, so I could never remember its name. With the second one looking a lot like Master Diabolos. It makes you wonder how this thing could have performed if every single one of these had the dual spin gimmick. It looks like something you'd see in Plastic Gen for the top right one. Kind of reminds me of like, what is it? Manta Diver? But aside from that, I don't exactly see the axe shape on most of these, which, you know, Spriggan's main weapon in the anime. And we'll move on to the bottom left one, which I will say, this looks pretty good. The only thing I can say is that the randomly interjected green doesn't look as good as it could be. And of course, with the last one, the bottom left, this one looks like it became the favorite in the design studio, because that is what we officially got. It looks like only slight changes were made to its design, but yeah, I guess that wraps up the video. Of course, this thing had its own use in the meta, like Spriggan Requiem with Bearing could absolutely destroy most bays with just stamina, but I think we've reached the time limit. While normally, my videos for these sorts of topics are way longer, it's just the end of this one. Because and that, my friends, is the end of our time together. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I will see you guys again. Peace!